Everybody was looking at us, and we were going to make the ticket anyway, but that was exactly the situation where cheating was, I mean, it took a very bold face to say, like, I'm not going to pay the ticket, you losers. Everybody's looking at me, but I'm not going to buy the ticket. What I'm setting is just like the single entry point was enforced, the single entry point was enforcing a face-to-face moment with the driver. And then, well, it's awkward. I mean, I can cheat if nobody's looking at me, but if everybody's looking at me, it's really harder to cheat. It just like takes a lot of extra boldness, which I don't have. And if you get caught, then suddenly you have the entire bus looking at you. Oh, well, that stupid guy that doesn't have a ticket, or slowing everybody down because he doesn't have the coin to pay. So it's embarrassing, and well, it feels like, no, let's pay the ticket. My life is going to be a lot easier. So what I'm saying with this weird example is design choices actually define interaction, and this interaction ends up shaping the culture. Imitation. Everybody's getting on from the same door. Then you face the person asking for the ticket. Then you pay the ticket. Then suddenly, oh, everybody's paying the tickets in this city. Why is that? Because the other way around is incredibly more complicated. While the winning behavior, it was absolutely different in other places. So what I'm saying is just like, is architects in the building field, in the actual building field, know this stuff very well. They are designing interaction. They are designing squares and buildings that are making easier or harder to have a conversation in places. As software architects, we are doing more or less the same thing. Let me give you one more technical example of trying to introduce good practices, much more software-oriented. Has everybody been in this place? I'm the only one in my team trying to introduce test-driven development. The first person in the team trying to introduce good practices. But if you are the only one doing test-driven development, that's a horrible place to be. Because you're doing double work, and every single person in your team is committing in the code base without running your test. So every morning, go back to the office, and your tests are read again. And why? Because other people change stuff without running your test. So you have to say bad words in the air and then correct your code, make your test get green again, and complain with other people. This is not a winning behavior. It looks like you're doing double job and you're angry with everybody. You're not winning in this scenario. If you're doing it in a place where, well, you have no teammates, you have a protected pet project, oh, then you're doing fantastic things, and you might finish working earlier, and your tests are always green, and your code is never broken. But if you're trying to introduce it in your team, this is not a winning behavior. It's or like, I have a funny story, but for later. Just like the only person quitting to smoke and this scenario. Yeah, doesn't really work. So what I wanted is I would like to have a place or to have some thinking tools that could help me define what the winning behavior is and see the shape of the resulting culture. So from now on, I'm trying to get a little bit more actionable because I have two thinking tools that might be useful. The first one is what I call the pink check. It's not about the color. It's actually about Daniel Pink and the book Drive. If you're too lazy to read the book, there's a fantastic video for a 15-minute groundbreaking explanation of his work about motivation. And the summary of what he's saying, like talking about motivation as individuals and as a team, it says like basically there are three main drivers, which are autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And it might look like a simplistic model, but once again, I'm an engineer, and this has been working really well for me. So I'm gonna show you a couple of examples from real life. First scenario is what I call the builders team. So a real story from one of the most successful startups in Italy in the past decade. And there was a great team, actually probably one of the top three teams in Italy. They built a new product, they grew on the market, and they were damn proud of it. If anything was wrong, they just like kept improving, applied good practices, XP from the ground, awesome people. Let's look at the ping check. Talking about autonomy, they built everything from scratch. They didn't need anybody. They started with the platform, with the language they knew, and they built it. I don't need anybody. And it was tested, TDD from the very beginning. Mastery, even more. They made mistakes. They kept improving the code base. It was pride all over the place. We are doing good stuff. We are improving. I mean, the good stuff of yesterday is probably ugly in our eyes, but we keep improving. And they were doing great things. Talking about the purpose, they had it in. They were building a new software, building an entire company. The company was creating a pretty good culture, one of the best workplaces I've seen. And wow, awesome. And how do I know about this team? Actually, because they called me a few months later. And so we have a different scenario where we have a great team, actually the same team as before, and they wanted to launch a new product. But this time, they wanted to launch it on top of an existing platform. And, well, in order to speed time, because it took them, quite a long time to complete the first product. And so that was the actual scenario. They built a new product on top of a third-party platform with some, little customization because we're doing something different. And in domain-driven design, that's what is called a conformist. What happened 6 months later? Well, talking about autonomy, completely gone. The platform was constraining their option. They had customers asking, can I do this? Can I do this? And in the old product, this was going, of course we can, even if I don't have the code. I just need a couple of evenings. And yes, now it's in production. But now I can't, because I'm running on top of this platform. And I have no idea about how to do this with this. And even more, I cannot even adjust the platform to the way I want. So autonomy was gone. What about mastery? Wiped away too. Even worse, when they asked for help, because autonomy was gone, the suggestion from the expert was, well, you can actually make a copy here and then connect there and do just a little bit of cut and paste and plug it in there. It works somewhere else. And they were, kind of disgusted after seeing this conversation. And it was basically blasphemy in action. And talking about purpose, wiped away. So basically they said, like, I'm staying here, still a good place, pay the bills, but lower down. Well, in fact, most of the team left after 6 months. And it was weird because the company, they were good people on both levels, but the manager didn't realize what was the big mistake. They took away the joy of building new stuff. They left only the duties and with no possibilities of enjoying the result of what they were doing. So actually gave me, so I've been in places where we had this feeling of building great stuff and also in places where this feeling was completely gone. And I realized that this idea from bounded context, isolated model with one single purpose, only serving one specific set of stakeholders with a clear idea in mind, and without external dependencies, like all the successful projects I was in, we didn't need anybody else. We control our persistence, we control the external part. We were talking with other teams and integrating with other systems, but not in a way that was making us dependent from the other people. We were in control. That's a place where the things are working. So clear responsibility. Why do I say that? Because it's turning what good team into a bad one. The big discussion was if this bounded context is under our responsibility, if there's something wrong in this bubble, it's our fault. Since we are good, I'm going to correct it because the software reflects my ability to write good code. So it's pride. It's my baby. If this software is ugly, it's because I'm stupid. So I need to turn it the other way around. But if I'm depending on other software, well, the software is broken. Oh, well, it's a platform. And so you turn a team of builders with pride that want to make good software into a team of, oh, well, it's raining. Yeah, it's probably the other platform. It's probably the other thing. Yeah, it's not me. Well, let's go home. It's Friday. And it's the same people. It just took the joy away. So the other thing, which is also part of the part of the big thing here. It's just like having the ability. This is actually my specialty. This is the thing that I do most of the time. But I didn't want to make it look like a pitch. It's just a large-scale discussion when we look to every single thing that happens in a product line, and we get in touch with all the stakeholders and see how the software is behaving, who are the stakeholders, which are the problem and the challenges that we have to face in order to deliver value. But in the long term, what we are trying to do is exactly trying to find the actual purpose, getting in touch with what is the value that we are delivering, and make sure we are making somebody happy at the end of the line. And what I observe in the few places that had this thing clear, it's just like a team with a clear purpose is a formidable weapon, way more effective than technology, architecture, microservice. The moment you have clear what is the goal of your software, you can be suboptimal in architectural choices, but you do the right thing because your mission is kind of clear. And especially in some places where the mission is actually positive. I had one fantastic experience in the healthcare, like that's our goal, we're gonna make our patient happy, and suddenly every other constraint at the architectural level kind of vanished because it was not relevant. Tool number 2, the feedback check. And sorry, I need. So what I'm looking at now is the feedback loops. And I'm looking at how do we get the thank you. I'm looking at like who is telling me that I screwed up with my software. Is it the test? Is it somebody else in the organization? Is it the customer? Is it the enemies? Whatever. Who are we making happy? Are we learning the right things? But the most important part of this analysis of these feedback loops are the 2 cycles. How does good and bad feedback arrive, and how long should I wait for good and bad feedback? So let's try to run this check on a typical DevOps team, and the feedback is coming from users, metrics, right after we release. Frequent deployment, frequent check of the metrics, trying to do the good thing. Okay, looks like that's really, really quick. We are not perfect, we still make mistakes, but what counts is the ability to remove mistakes quickly. And since we are learning quickly, we also can sparkle new ideas. So the short feedback loop from I tried this, it actually worked, or it didn't work, why don't we try this instead? And the more delays, the less invention you would have on top of the existing ideas. And a little warning, feedback might have business-specific delays, like if you're making wine, or even worse, if you're making whiskey, even if you have a good idea, well, maybe the feedback loop might be 15, 18 years. And so if you have people eager to grow in a startup, okay, winemaking might not be the way to go. So this is the delay is part of the good and feedback cycle and will affect the way we perceive it. I'm going to give you also a couple of truisms here that I don't even know if this is a law, but it's something that is driving a lot of choices for me. So, which is people won't improve the system if they won't stay around long enough to see the benefits. Like the first time I joined the university, I felt like, oh, this is everything wrong here. And then it took me a little to realize that as a student, my ability to change a system is really, really close to 0. And so, well, I tried to pass through without getting noticed, and didn't really work well. But yes, or the summary, have you ever repainted the hotel room? The hotel room is brown, it's actually ugly. Are you going to repaint it? No, I'm just staying here 3 nights. That's okay. Living in a rented apartment, how long can you stay in a brown apartment? So you making this trade-off. If this is your house forever, well, we're going to change the colors immediately. And this, combined with this, I'm trying to actually make a comparison in the time space. So I'm basically projecting the past life here. This is the time needed to enjoy the benefits of a given action. This is my life expectancy in a system. If I already decided to quit a company or an organization, I will go on LinkedIn and improve my resume. I will stop testing my code and improving the system because I'm not going to be around here to enjoy the benefits.